Welcome, everyone, to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. In Hebrew name is Apitronistim. IDSF is the leading Israeli organization advocating for strong national security to defend the state of Israel. It's a great pleasure to be joined today by Brigadier General Amir Avivi, founder and chairman of IDSF. General, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure.
I think a lot of things have happened in this war since you last came on the briefing. So why don't we start with you just sharing a general update of what is happening right now?
Well, we're seeing the IDF pushing strongly in Gaza, operating with 3 divisions. We have Division 98, the Paratroopers Division, that is attacking fiercely the area of Jabalia. They're attacking a specific area they haven't operated in the beginning, the first ground incursion in the north. So there were many terrorists that remained inside Jabalia. There were more than 300 events of exchange of fire. In one event, the terrorists shot 8 or 9 RPGs at the force. So the fighting is really fierce. But our soldiers are managing to overcome this and killed really dozens of terrorists. Also, in this operation in Jabalia, we managed to find and retrieve 7 of the bodies of the hostages inside the tunnels in Jabalia. This was due to very accurate intelligence we got from questioning terrorists that were arrested. And at the moment, the division is continuing its operation in the north. In the center of Gaza, Division 99 is operating. It's mainly defending the Netzarim corridor and operating in the central camps, and also degrading all the capabilities of the terrorists. And then we have Rafah. And the fighting in Rafah is meaningful, it's fierce. It's done by Division 162. They are operating with, I think, 5 brigades, moving forward constantly, taking over the border with Egypt, Philadelphia, and also the city itself. They managed to take over most of the eastern part of Rafah and are moving forward. And I think this is a very defining moment. They're finding many tunnels and many entrances to tunnels that they are dealing with. Yesterday, we saw shooting from Rafah all the way to Tel Aviv and the surroundings of Tel Aviv. This means that Hamas has the range. One of the reasons they're shooting now from Rafah, they want to manage shooting before we arrive and destroy their capabilities. So we might see also more of this shooting. And the fighting is overall is fierce, but I think that the soldiers and commanders on the ground are doing a very good job. Meanwhile, in the north, we see constant exchange of fire. The IDF is managing to kill quite a few leaders in South Lebanon and also in Syria, targeting precisely commanders of Hezbollah. But Hezbollah also is shooting a lot, damaging the towns. As we speak, there is a huge drill in the army for preparations to a possible war in the north. So the army on one side is fighting in Gaza, on the other hand is preparing for its missions in the north. And I can say that the Northern Command is in high readiness for war. It has prepared all the plans, and now it's a matter of decision. I guess that once we'll see really the IDF destroying Hamas in Jabalia and also in Rafah, then we probably will see more and more units moving north. And then we'll see what happens in the north. I think there is hope that maybe there will be a diplomatic solution and Hezbollah will withdraw from South Lebanon. But I think, in my assessment, that this is not really probably a high chance that it will happen. We most probably will see us having to go to war. I must say that we saw in the last weeks in two occasions where when Israel stood firm and strong and really said, this is what we mean and want, we managed to also deal with the US pressure. We saw it when the US wanted to pose sanctions on Israeli units, and all the politicians united and stood strong, and the US withdrew from this demand. And then again with Rafah, we were told that if we go into Rafah, we won't get munitions, and we went into Rafah, and we're conquering Rafah, and we are getting the munitions. Why? Because every time the Jewish people will unite, every time the leaders will unite, every time we'll show a resolution and will achieve the goals that we set. And this is a very important message for our leaders and also for the Jewish people. So at the moment, we see the fighting continuing. We see the many different ways in which pressure is put on Israel. We saw it with the international courts threatening to release warrants for arrest, saying don't go into Rafah in order not to commit atrocities and so on. And of course, we're not making any atrocities, and 1 million people already left Rafah. Most of the people who stayed in Rafah are terrorists that need to be destroyed. So the IDF is operating in an environment that is with very few citizens, and this is good. But unfortunately, the Hamas is shooting also from the coastal area within the citizens, and this is also a challenge that we need to deal with, and the IDF is dealing with this challenge. So this is at the moment the overall situation. Moshe?
General, for many months, you had been pushing for increased operations or to start the maneuvering in Rafah. Now that it has begun and it's underway, are you pleased with the level of operation in Rafah, or do you believe that the IDF is somehow holding back and needs to be more active?
No, I don't think there is holding back. I think that the fighting in Gaza is fierce at the moment, and the IDF is attacking with all the forces inside Gaza. But we need to be very accurate. We're looking for our hostages. I've talked a lot about the fact that most of the hostages are in Rafah, and indeed, General Agari, the spokesman, said a few days ago, our hostages are in Rafah, and we're going to get them. We're going in to get them, and this is exactly what's happening. We need to go in, we need to reach the leadership of Hamas and destroy them. We need to reach our hostages and liberate them. And because there are hostages, the IDF is operating very accurately in order not to hit them by mistake, but also in order to keep our soldiers safe and destroy Hamas.
Are you able to comment on this incident, which is just being reported about the way CNN frames it, 45 dead because of an Israeli airstrike? And I know it's very premature to know what happened, but do you have any initial thoughts to share?
So the Hamas is trying all the time to shoot from densely populated area. The IDF attacked a position of Hamas that was shooting at us. And it's possible that the explosions, because there were a lot of explosives in this position, created also collateral damage. This is part of war, happens. According to international law, if you are shot from a certain place, you can shoot back, even if there is collateral damage.
And just to clarify, there are designated humanitarian areas within Gaza, and was this near one of those designated areas?
Yeah, this is what I understand. The army is checking this. We didn't see anything conclusive. It could be, by the way, explosion of Hamas itself that hurt all these people. We don't know. So it's not clear. The IDF is looking into it.
Also today, there was shooting between the IDF and Egypt. Can you explain a little bit about what happened and what that means?
Well, it's not the first time in history that while operating along the border is by mistake exchange of fire. I don't know yet what exactly happened. It's something that needs to be seen. But I'm sure that IDF at the moment is investigating this and checking what happened exactly.
And in your assessment, is there a concern that Egypt as a country enters into this war, or this was much just a smaller shooting incident?
No, I don't see Egypt as a country entering to this war. Incidents like that along the border can happen. I don't see them entering to the war.
Now, you've explained many a times about why the IDF continues operating in northern Gaza, even though in theory the missions are now in southern Gaza. But can you just explain, like, as you mentioned with Jabalia, you see this as a success, the IDF being able to maneuver in Jabalia, or a failure that they hadn't destroyed those the first time around?
So Jabalia, it's a specific place where we didn't go the first time into the heart of Jabalia, and this is why we have to deal with this now. In other places, we have the remaining terrorists trying to regroup, and when they try to regroup, we target them. We saw that in Shifa, we saw that in Zaytun. It's a process. We have to go again and again, and all the time degrade their capabilities and arrest and kill more and more terrorists until it will reach a point where really their capabilities will be very, very low, if at all. And we have to remember that the issue of Rafah, of closing the Egyptian border and their ability to build up their forces, the issue of destroying all their factories and all the places where they produce capabilities, this is very crucial. The IDF destroyed all the factories inside Gaza and also is closing now the Egyptian border. When we reach these two things, eventually they'll also run out of munitions and they won't be able to equip themselves. And at the same time, the Israeli industries are producing more and more and more munitions, and we're getting also the assistance from the US and getting stronger and stronger.
So just to clarify, so for example, the other day when they shot rockets from Rafah up north past Tel Aviv, those rockets they probably had produced and stockpiled prior to October 7th, or there still is production right now that needs to be stopped?
No, this is prior, but also because until now they were still connected to the tunnels into Egypt, maybe they smuggled more, we don't know. But it's for sure that once we close the Egyptian border and we destroyed all the production capabilities, then there will be left with whatever is left. And the more we conquer the area, the more we find and destroy these launchers. So eventually we'll reach the point where they really almost don't have anything. And indeed, you see that there are whole weeks that they don't shoot anything because there are very few left. So they try to keep it for a very specific moment and show that they're still able to do something, and everybody in Israel gets walked out. Wow, they shot, look, they still have capabilities. Okay, but it's ending. It's not endless.
Now, while we're on the topic of the armaments of Hamas, are you able to just give a little bit of a background about how other states like China, Russia, Iran, Qatar potentially play into that supply chain for Hamas?
Well, I think that China plays a role in the sense that they are buying all the oil and gas from Iran, and they are bringing a lot of money to Iran, and then Iran can use this money to build up their forces, and also Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis, and the same goes for Russia. Russia is helping Iran build its military capabilities. They are procuring from Iran many drones and missiles, and this way Iran gets capabilities and money, and then they can build all this infrastructure that they're being. I don't see the Chinese or the Russians directly involved in the buildup of Hamas. This is Iran. Iran doing so, but in many ways are facilitating this for Iran.
And I want to thank all of our viewers and supporters who are tuning into this briefing and sending their questions. The questions are deeply appreciated. We try to get to as many as we can. A number of our viewers are asking about the U.S. and the ability of the U.S. to pressure these other countries, and namely Egypt, ongoing throughout the war. Do you have any thoughts on not U.S. pressure in Israel, but other countries?
Well, I wish there was pressure. I mean, I see the administration not wanting to really deal seriously with Iran. I didn't see any pressure on Egypt to let Palestinians go out to the Sinai Peninsula to a safety zone, and this is why we find ourselves moving them all the time from place to place, and then the terrorists hiding among these people and shooting from Palestinian crowds. So unfortunately, most of the pressure we see is on Israel. This is not good. We need the pressure on our enemies. We need pressure on Hezbollah, on Iran. We need pressure on Egypt to let Palestinians get out of Gaza and have less citizens in Gaza while we are fighting Hamas. This would have eased things for everyone, for the Palestinians themselves and also for Israel.
Thank you. Okay, last week, one of the presenters on the briefing was Colonel Gidi Harari. He spoke about Hezbollah and how, as this war is progressing, Hezbollah is learning the vulnerabilities of Israel. One of the things that they've learned, as he suggested, is the vulnerability of drone strikes. That whereas when Hezbollah would send a rocket, we have Iron Dome, whereas if they send a few $1,000 drone up into the air, it presents more of a vulnerability. And he discussed how Hezbollah is learning in this war. Are you able to kind of share what Israel is doing to learn and how Israel is improving our defenses as the war progresses?
Yeah, so Israel dealing with drones is working hard on two things. One is detection, the ability to detect the drones, and this is something I think overall we're pretty good at. And the other thing is how to destroy them. Today, it's mostly done with airplanes, also a bit with the Iron Dome. But there are other technologies, maybe some of them more effective. Some of them exist in our own industries, and now the IDF is working, bringing more and more capabilities. Laser is a possibility, but laser, it's still under development. It's not in full readiness, but definitely looking to the future, laser can be a very, very good solution for drones. So the IDF is really pushing hard with the Ministry of Defense to bring all the top technologies to deal with the two main problems we are facing. One is drones, and the other one is anti-tank missiles. Israel has very sophisticated technology to defend a specific vehicle against anti-tank missiles. So if they shoot a tank or an APC that has a trophy, then it will be effective. But if they shoot the anti-tank missile on a private house, which obviously doesn't have this technology, they will hit. So they're able to shoot many anti-tank missiles, and we don't have a good answer for that. We have to find an answer also to how we defend a whole area against anti-tank missiles.
For those unaware, General, can you just explain trophy and how that works with an APC? Because you threw out that term. I don't know if everyone is familiar.
So Israel developed technology that when a tank or an APC is shot, there is radars on the APCs that detect the shooting, and there are charges that are being shot from the APC to the anti-tank missile and destroy the anti-tank missile before it hits the APC. And it's not only just about anti-tank missiles, it can also be tank shells and other threats that are kinetic and threaten the tank or the APC. This is the most advanced technology in the world, and it's being procured by the US and also by European armies. And it has done an amazing job in Gaza. I mean, I can say that I think in the whole 8 months that we have been fighting with tanks inside Gaza with endless amount of anti-tank missiles shot, I think that only 4 tanks were taken out of order, pretty much destroyed. And even those events were because mistakes, the way that they use the technology. And so this is a very, very effective technology that has proven itself in Gaza in a very good way, and will also assist us a lot when we need to go into a ground incursion in Lebanon.
Now, on this topic of the equipment and technology, if you were to look at the battlefield, is there one area that you think Israel is weaker than the rest? Let's say technology versus manpower versus just supply chain. Is there one thing on the battlefield that really is Israel's vulnerability that you think needs to be improved?
Always we can improve technologically, but in this war, our challenge is not the technology. In this war, our challenge is the amount of forces, especially ground forces, and the munitions. We invested a lot in technology and less in the simple but necessarily things, munitions, and the amount of forces we are operating with. And this is, at least for this war, this is the main lesson, and it's prolonging the war. It could have been different. And now we're trying to build more and more capabilities of production. We need to enlarge the ground forces. And for this, by the way, in the long term, we really need the whole society to serve in the army, meaningful service. We need many, many soldiers.
So on that topic of increasing the standing army and the whole issue surrounding the ultra-Orthodox draft, let's say the IDF got every number that they needed. What is the length of time it would take to recruit, to train, and to deploy those soldiers? Would that be effective during this war, or you're talking about many years down the line?
In this war, what you can do in a short time is bring reservists that are not serving anymore. And this requires short training. You can train them in a few weeks. But if you now start bringing to the army new young soldiers, this will take a long time, and I'm not sure it's even relevant for this war. But we have to understand that probably at the end of this war, we'll have to continue operating in Gaza. We'll have to continue operating in South Lebanon. We have to continue operating in Jordan, Samaria. So overall, yes, we need to get more people to join the army, especially the combat units, because we'll have to, many regions, we have to operate.
General, I'll just share with our audience that you are getting ready for a trip to the US. And for any of our viewers tuning in right now, who will be in New York City next week on Sunday for the Israel Day Parade, there will be, amongst all of the beautiful organizations there, IDSF will have its float. And if you want to see General Avivi in person, everyone, of course, is invited to go to the Israel Day Parade and join the float. And it's going to be a very busy week for IDSF in the States. General Avivi has a packed schedule. And also, General, it's tremendous that the Jerusalem Post is honoring you and IDSF for being a defender of Israel, as is the Arutz Sheva Jerusalem Conference honoring you and IDSF for all the tremendous work So for all of our viewers, if you'll be at any of those events, please show your support. Come by, say hi to the General. And General, I guess I'll ask you, you're about to travel to the US. What is your message right now for North American Zionists?
Well, my message is we need to, if we want to win, we need all to really be united, proud, connected to our core values, resolute, and project power, and really strengthen our soldiers that are fighting on the ground. I see on one hand many people in our wonderful nation that are strong and resolute and want a victory, and I also see some people who are weak and they say we cannot win. It's going to, this is not the kind of mentality we need. We need winners. We need strengths. We need people who believe in our rightness and how important it is that we really win the day. It's going to be a long war, but we're going to win decisively. We're going to win decisively and bring a great future to the Jewish people.
Amen. Brigadier General Amir Avivi, thank you so much for joining me today. Safe travels as you go abroad and represent Israel. Thank you, of course, to all of our viewers and supporters for tuning into this briefing. We will be back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. here in Israel. Until then, stay safe, stay strong. Take care, everyone.